Hello traders, welcome back to the M15 Swing series, going through the last 15 days of February and on GBP/USD using the confirmation and double confirmation entries. So from the daily on GBP/USD, we can see we still contain within this range, right? It's very messy price action. It's just something that it's inevitable when the price action is very range bound. It's just better to be a little bit more cautious and make sure you just stick to high probability setups. But focusing on the most recent price action, which is basically this internal daily bullish leg, right? A few things can happen. After price mitigates this daily demand, we can indeed go higher. But if you use a little bit of pattern separation, what's actually happening is that we have this internal boss bearish, then this bearish order flow start to kick in. So yeah, at this stage, let's see if we can create a new lower low and then continue following until we reach until we internal boss bearish on the daily. But since we're coming from the absolutely extreme, there's a few strong reactions we need to be prepared of, and just reevaluate price on the other time frames such as the H4 and the H1. But from the daily, to be honest, is definitely not clean. The only thing, in my opinion, I can see here that matters is that we're coming from a very interesting demand formed through sweep of liquidity. We can expect some possible higher prices, but because we let's say we are bearish, let's say here, right? Anything here can be just a pullback to mitigate the supply and then add lower. So let's see what's going to happen and use the other time frames as confluence. So yeah, on the H4, we have an H4 boss bearish. Here we can see H4 boss bearish. This is an high probability H4 POI, but it's very far away, so I'm focusing more on this recent price action. What I really like is the fact that we have this H4 push down, then we reach the premium, right, and we shift bearish. That says to me that we have a very good indication this low is weak, right, and we can then look for sales or from here, right, or from here. So not much more to say, to be honest. Swing is bearish, internal is bearish. I just want to look for sales, and that's it. If we have anything changing, we then need to reevaluate price, but currently this is what I'm expecting. We're coming from this very refined POI, which made a very strong reaction, but it seems that just failing now. So from the H4, that's what I'm seeing here. So let's now analyze the H1. We have this H1 shift bearish, the swing low right here being weak. So yeah, from the H1 perspective, we have two very clean POIs. This one at the very extreme and this one as well. Because it's such a tiny candle, I just use the H4. This is like the H4 supply. It's very interesting that it's formed through sweep of liquidity. So it's an high probability POI according to me, to my rules, right? For me, it's a high probability POI. And yeah, just interested looking for sales from here or from here. If indeed price start creating, let's say, internal structures like that, internal boss bullish, that can be a good indication that price will head higher. Do you want to get involved in these longs? Play this pullback until price reach here. That's definitely valid, but let's see how price reacts, and we can reevaluate price during that time. So let's see, from the H1 perspective, looking for sales. Hope you guys are with me, targeting this week low, where we can take the trade. We have this POI and we have this one. So yeah, basically waiting for that to be reached. Let's see. Okay, price went down. Okay, it went back up. We have this very clean high probability POI to look for sales. Okay, let's see what happens. Let me see the session. Okay, it's outside session now. So it's outside session. So let's wait for next day. All right. So we have, let's see here, this choke. Okay, can be early signs that price indeed is moving down. So we have a new fresh supply. We want to trade. So I'm now looking for sales. Okay, we have liquid target, all great. Let's see what happens. Looking for the low time frames, see how price reacts in this area. Okay, it's straight away push to the upside. during news, not news, but London Open, sometimes it's like that. So we need now to zoom out, go back to the H1 and see what happens. Okay, very nice. Price swept the highs, chalk bearish. The chalk is even here. So yeah, swept the highs. It creates an even more high probability scenario. H1 chalk bearish. We have now this new fresh H1 supply to look for sales. So yeah, basically the idea is continue looking for sales. You can see the bearish structure right there, swept the high, POI formed through sweep, now trying to play sales and looking for more downside move. So yeah, from the M15, let's see if price forms anything that's interesting. We want to see a decent mitigation right here before setting the entries. So now what I really want to see is that, okay, price mitigates the H1 POI. This is a valid LC1 if you want to take it, but again, I'm not using that entries in these videos, just confirmation and double confirmation. So what I really want to see is a nice push down to then I can set the entry, okay? At this stage, there's nothing. All right, we have a nice push down, you can see here. It broke this low, so now we have a very clean confirmation entry to look for sales if price pulls back into that. All right, it keeps going down. Okay, it's very, very clean. One thing that you can use a little bit of discretion if you want, for example, we have this very clean 61.8 Fibonacci retracement where you can just simply targeting the lows or wherever you want. I use 1 to 2s, but that's a valid area to look for sales. However, you can see that we have a very clean POI here. Okay, even if on this candle you can just mark like that. And you have this POI here. So you can, if you prefer to make sure you get trigger, adapt a little bit and use a little bit of discretion. So you're combining the supply and demand concepts with this entry model. Okay, that's fine because this can indeed be a little bit more refined. But if you make sure that you want to get involved, you just place the entry on the detail of the POI and make sure you get triggered. But for consistent basis, I just remain consistent with the actions and I'll just keep like that for this exercise. But just want to let you know that as you get more experience, you'll notice that sometimes the POI is so clean that you just won't get involved, but you can adapt a little bit, like just lowering the entry level. So that's something for you to consider, but for this exercise, let's keep like that. Okay, and price went down. Okay, this is a very interesting times because when I then use the H1, I need to make sure I still understand what's happening, and I need to make sure I'm not trading now on the wrong side and the objective I'm trying to play is not completed yet. So let's now analyze again. Everything remains the same. This H1 swing bearish, internal is bearish. We have now swing low here as weak. We have also liquidity to target like that. Okay, that's very, very clean. But notice that price is now coming from this very relevant demand formed through sweep of liquidity. And yeah, we can definitely expect a reaction. Do you want to leave the order right here to get trigger if price goes down? So it's definitely a possibility. It's a little bit more risky when price moves such aggressively because it then retraces. It's probably on the low time frames, is very erratic, very aggressive. So yeah, just bear in mind that this is definitely a valid trade, but it's a little bit more aggressive because you need to always zoom out, see where we're coming from. We're coming from this H1 demand, and we indeed can then add higher. Yeah, it's definitely a possibility, but still let's keep it as mechanical as possible and leave the order there, but just be aware it can happen. Okay, so, and by the way, let's see the hours, by the way, to make sure it's during session. So now the session finished, so it's now outside session. I will never have this on, I'll just delete it. But you can see that we have a nice reaction to the upside. Leaving the limit order here can be a little bit more low probability. and price give you a small reaction and then push back up. This happened outside session, so it's nothing you will be get involved, but I just want to make sure it was clear explained that every time we have a nice push to the downside, aggressively move, you just need to zoom out, use, let's say, the H1 in this case, and see if the objective you're trying to play still valid. And because we're coming from this very relevant demand and we can expect at least a strong pullback, you can decide based on how aggressive you want to be, just to leave the limit order or just wait a little bit more as extra confirmation at this stage. Okay, it's up to you. I personally left, but yeah, I left the order, but it was outside session, so it does not matter in the end of the day. So let's now clean everything. Continue looking for sells from this POI. So I'll now be looking for longs, try to play the pullback until price reach that area. We have this POI, by the way, is literally during Sunday open, so it's not a POI I want to trade from. By the way, I'll just ignore. So yeah, looking for longs. Okay, I'm interested in looking for longs. I have this POI here. If price goes early, I will be waiting for extra confirmation. So looking for longs from here, but if price, let's say, reach the discount and shifts bullish, then I'll get involved in this new fresh demand. Okay, looking for longs, because we know based on the H4 and based on the H1 that is very likely that price will reach this area. So I may want to just take advantage of that, right? So after protecting internal low was formed, this one, and even if you are a little bit more zoom out, you can see we broke this internal high. So yeah, it's a nice area to look for longs. Just a little bit more cautious if it goes earlier. All right, so here price gives you the chalk, but still contained within this internal structure. So I'll actually be more conservative and wait for something like that, just to be on the safe side, as price can literally just chalk, facilitate a pullback deeper into the supply and then actually go down. So yeah, it's up to you. Again, multiple opportunities if you want to get involved here. Being ambitious and trying to play the longs, that's definitely valid. Just accept the fact that we can just make a pullback, mitigate supply, and then go down. So yeah, I will just wait for a little bit more, especially when it's tiny candles, but be aware that you can indeed look for longs at this stage and be a little bit more aggressive. Okay, so price indeed went down, mitigate demand, and went to the upside. So you can see on the lower time frames that price actually, give you this entry for price to push up. But now that we have a clean shift, I'm now interested in looking for longs. So basically, I'm not expecting price to go down because it already made a strong move to the upside from the discount, so it's all fine. Okay, now price mitigates the POI. Let's wait for an entry model. You can now, if you could have used LC1, get involved here, but let's wait a little bit more in this case. Okay, price gives you the shift, and then I just want to get involved now. Let's see. Okay, price went without me. That's fine. So basically, let's just use a little bit of bar replay here, and you can see that after the price made you the chalk, let's just use bar replay. It's easier because there is an opportunity that even though I did not take it, I want to make it clear that it was valid. Okay, don't get confused. So yeah, price never reached the discount. Never reached the POI. But because it already reached a discount and give you a nice chalk bullish, okay, that was indeed a valid opportunity to get involved, trying to be more aggressive and being ambitious, saying that this chalk is the first indication that price now is pulling back within this internal leg, and it's not just a pullback of the internal leg, it will actually be the break. Okay, why? Because we're already coming from discount prices, so that's definitely valid. You can see price went down, mitigate the POI, and then went back up. So now we have a valid shift, so which means we have a valid confirmation entry. Okay, to get involved, price went up, you just adjust, you get involved here, and then yeah, price simply respect that and went up. So that was a valid entry. Okay, just to make sure You wait for H1 choke. The moment you give the H1 choke, we have a new fresh demand. Price mitigates demand. You drop to low time frames, wait for the shift. This is a choke, and then, sorry, this is a strong shift. Then the confirmation entry is here to look for longs, okay? Valid entry, a little bit more aggressive, but definitely valid. But yeah, I did not took it, so will not register. So price eventually reached the POI. Now I'm interested in looking for sells. Even though we are within a bullish internal structure, I want to look for sells because we already complete the objective. So let's see. We have this internal structure. Because the choke is very far away, I may want to get involved from this internal structure. Okay. The low here, the choke is very far away, so we are using internal structure in my advantage. Let's see what happens. But by the way, let's just zoom out. Price reached this POI, so I'm expecting now the lower low to be formed. So yeah, quite simple. So let's see if we have an entry. Yes, we swept this, but we're still within like these POIs, like this range. So I'm still interested, to be honest. Okay, something that I'm still interested. I don't know if I really don't want to use this because it can bring discretion, but if you use, let's say, other time frames, you can literally see that this is the area, right? So yeah, just won't get involved. Let's see what happens. We have a nice shift, okay, strong shift to the downside. This is where you can use a little bit of discretion, and this is enough for you to set an entry, okay? Or you can wait for these lows to go and you may not get trigger. Personally, I think this can be enough because it's not just a jog, it's actually like a pause in the market and then a shift. So it's when you can use, it can be as mechanical or as discretion you want. You can say that you always wait for the choke, you can always wait for an internal boss, or a weak break, or a candle closure, or even just the supply and demand that was holding price to fail. It's up to you. I literally just want to say that I just prefer waiting for like a strong shift, which in my opinion, this is more than enough because it's quite a pause in the market. Price went down aggressively. So yeah, that was, in my opinion, a valid shift and I want to get involved. So that's it. Looking for sells. You probably get trigger here. Yeah, I mean, you could definitely do that. I was a little bit distracted. I just cover the highs. It is what it is, right? And I have, it should be 2.2, so it would be enough to be a winner. But if you use technical target, it never reached that. So yeah, definitely a winner trade in my opinion. So yeah, then price went down. So, and then price went back up during Asia. Oh, let me see. It's, oh, sorry guys. It seems it's outside session. So you can see that it's outside session here. Price triggered me 15 minutes after the 3 p.m. So it's outside session if I want to be mechanical. And yeah, it's not a trade that I will take because of that, but still end up as a winner for me, especially if you use a little bit more smart stop loss. It ran enough, yeah. So that was a valid trade, but it's not according to my plan just because of the time I get trigger, okay? But nice that I explained that because now you can see basically more examples how confirmation entry works. So we have one here and another one here. Depends on how aggressive you want to be. So that's it. Let's now continue. Very range bound price action, horrible price action, I'd say. I remember in the beginning of 2024, which is this period, GU was a really mess, right? I remember that. So it's nice to see you still have opportunities. Okay, we have nice one here, another one here on the last video, and then two more here if you are a little bit more aggressive than me. So there's room for you to find your own style. You don't need to be exactly like myself. Find your own style and just get involved in these trades if it according to plan. Okay, price. Let's see what happens. We actually boss, so let's just mark like that. So we reach demand. Now internal structure needs to be bullish. There is no chalk, like the chalk is right here. So if you want to continue looking for longs, you really need to use internal structure. From the H4 perspective, like such a messy price action, it really is. I know it's difficult. I know it can be annoying, but these kind of things happen. And I remember this happening live on 2024 in the beginning. And you just need to be a little bit more conservative. As long as you catch 1-2 trades in this period using the confirmation or double confirmation entries, it's more than enough to save you from like a big drawdown and things like that. So that's fine. And you always can trade more than one pair, so you'll be fine. So diversify your risk is actually important in my opinion. But yeah, but now analyzing the H4, based on the H4, right, looking for longs. This is a POI that now needs to be reached. Internal, we have this H4 demand formed through sweep of liquidity. This can definitely hold. So now after this demand mitigation, demand formed through sweep, I'm now interested in looking for longs, trying to play the higher low, right? So from the H4 perspective, that's the goal. From the H1, I then follow that. And you can see H1 creating this internal structure formed through sweep, by the way, very, very nice. So now interesting to keep following that. Let's see if we have a nice... Okay, now we have a nice push up during London. Very clean POI to look for longs. Okay, you could indeed mark the entire range. I'm just using the refined one just to be a little bit more clean with very nice inducement just above. So waiting for that to be reached. There's a valid LC1s right here, right? But just focus on confirmation entries. Okay, it's very nice LC1, very, very nice. You get triggered here, but again, waiting for the shift for the confirmation. Okay, we have now a strong shift. Now I want to get involved using the confirmation. And price end up without me. So that's why you could use an LC1, but yeah, just part of the exercise, right? I'm just using confirmation entries. So there's more opportunities out there. Just focusing more on confirmation entries this time. And yeah, price end up continue moving up, left some kind of equal lows, not ideal. So what I'm going to do, basically, if price now mitigates into this demand here, I will be a little bit more conservative, waiting for more confirmation, such as an H1 chalk bullish. This is very interesting because here I will not leave the limit order, and imagine that, yeah, you could definitely see a confirmation entry, right, like that, as I said, and you could indeed saying that, and this can be a mistake a lot of people do, just leave the limit order and seeing that, yeah, it was a confirmation entry. It is indeed, but like I said in previous videos, and I also think I said in the beginning here, when price aggressively move away, you need to do that. So when price aggressively move away, you need to see that, okay, the objective may already be completed, or price at least develop enough structure for me to simply go to my medium time frame, zoom out, okay, see what's happening, and you can clearly see that price left these very clean equal lows. So do I really want to leave my limit order and hope for the best, or I just analyze how it is and say, okay, this H1 demand is not high probability anymore. So if I'm going to get involved, I'll wait for more confirmation. So that's why I think a lot of people can take losses, because they just find an LC, a confirmation entry on the low time frames, and straight away set the limit. It is what it is. Price can move 1,000 pips to the upside, and then yeah, once it comes back, it just not valid anymore, or at least is much more lower probability. So yeah, price developed enough for me to now analyze this H1 individually, and I can see that is not high probability, especially with these equal lows below. So yeah, I'll never leave the limit order. I'll wait for more confirmation in this area. And by the way, it's outside session, guys, so that will also save you. But you can see that, yeah, price just continue up, moving to the upside. It's just inside the big range. Okay, oops, here is inside the range. Okay, so waiting for more confirmation, more development, see price commit to the upside or to the downside. You can see very range bound. I don't want to get involved. Okay, very range bound. This is a type of price action I really don't want to get involved. Okay, now we finally break to the downside. So now what we actually add, we have a price this low, try to take out a high, and then it failed because demand failed and we chalk bearish. Okay, now we have the confirmation that this low is weak, right? And because this low mitigate that demand, so this demand is also already mitigated, so also this low is very likely to get run, which means we have still room to the downside. This is when I want to look for sales. Okay, I really want to look for sales because based on structure, we know that this low is weak. This is also mitigated, so it's very likely to get run. So we still have room, right, to move down. In terms of POIs, let's use the H4. It's a little bit more clean, in my opinion. Right, price, what it did, it never reached the POI, but this is when you can take a message from the market and price actually swept liquidity. You can see here, it swept these highs, and then it also chalk bearish. So here it create a new fresh supply to trade from, coming from the premium, and that is what matters, because we're coming from the premium, which means this bullish objective may already be completed, and now we can be changing, right? We can be changing direction. We have these lows to target. We have a lot of room to the downside. You can take a lot of trades here, confirmation, double confirmation. So it's definitely an area that I want to get involved, especially knowing that this low here, this low right here is weak. Okay, it failed to take out the high. So looking for sells and only sells. Let's see what happens. By the way, this for me, when price barely tap and move down, is not a time for me to keep following, okay? Keep assuming now I'm going to look for sales. I actually want to see, right, nice mitigation, a nice move down, okay? Really don't want to force things. Use a little bit of common sense, right, guys? Don't just take these trades because it's not how we usually do. So price mitigates deeper into the POI. What I want to see a shift. Okay, and price never did that. What it did instead, it literally mitigate the POI we have marked here. Okay. I personally would not use low time frames at this stage because things start to become a little bit messy. So I'll do exactly the same. I'll wait for the chalk as extra confirmation, and then I'll look to get involved. Okay, we have the chalk. We have a new fresh supply all over again, and I want to now look for sales. Exactly the same. It's not because, yeah, it's not very clean, so now waiting for, oops, let me just look for sales. Let's see what happens. Okay, price just went sideways. So yeah, it was a little bit more challenging, this kind of price action. Okay, it's definitely challenging. A few things to take into consideration, even though there was no trades, a few things I really want to make reference. Okay, so guys, when price gives you an entry and then aggressively move away, make sure to zoom out, see if we indeed still have the same objective as valid. Not only that, you reevaluate the H1 area, the limit order is placed, and see if it actually makes sense leaving that open. Okay, most of the times when price aggressively move down, yeah, just doesn't make much sense most of the times, because you're basically taking a risk entry on the H1, and most of the times the POI is not that great. So just take that into consideration every time price moves away aggressively. For example, it was in this one where price mitigates POI, push back up. You could definitely leave it as a limit order, but again, just zoom out, see how low probability it is. Equal lows, straight push, no inducement, Asia session. So all this kind of stuff matters. The same way here, aggressively push down. When push back up, already Asia session. So you don't want to leave the limit order right there, okay? There was a valid entry here if you are a little bit more aggressive than me, right? And there was also a valid entry here, but it was 15 minutes after the session finished. So I just did not record because I just want to make sure I'm mechanical with my actions. But if you use a little bit of experience and human judgment, these are the kind of trades you can still get involved, but I will leave that to you and make your own decisions. But that's how it was, this price action, not clean at all. If you use the daily, it's not a surprise, guys. Like, look at this, okay? Look at this. I remember beginning of 2024, a lot of price action like that. So it's not a surprise. It's just one of those periods the market are a little bit more challenging. So I think it's still worth going over this period with you, because I'm sure a lot of you may have questions, not sure, probably in a big drawdown, and this can help you just, make sure you are in the right direction of the market, you are in the right place, and don't just get overly confused, let's say. So that's it, guys. See you guys on the next one, and hopefully better conditions will come. So see you guys on the next one. Bye. Cheers.